Okay, so this is basically the lecture for Chapter 2. Whether you have to read the entirety of Chapter 2 is entirely up to you. I think you would get a fuller understanding if you did. I think you should be able to answer every question in the quiz simply by paying attention to what I'm saying. So, this is all about what is a play, which is not the same as theater. A play is really the basic unit of theater. So each time you go to the theater to see a piece of theater, you're seeing a play. Sometimes a play is called a musical, or sometimes it's called something else, but you're seeing a play, the thing. Now, a play is not a thing, right? A theater can be a thing, and a script can be a thing, but a play is an event. The word drama is derived from the Greek word dran, which is something done, and and that kind of lends us into the idea that a play isn't just a static thing, although we will often refer to a script as a play. This is actually one of the problems we have. We frequently refer to things incorrectly, and I'll mention that a few more times in this particular lecture. A play itself is action. It's framed and it's focused around a particular conflict, and it becomes art because there is someone or a group of someones trying to get to a deeper truth, or trying to convey an idea, or try to get something across to an audience. It becomes art. I mean, it's not just the words on the paper, and it's just not just the actors on the stage. It is the whole thing, the whole event. A play can refer, as I just mentioned, just to literature, as in a play can be, if you think of it as a script, then it's just a piece of literature. As both literature and as theater, Aristotle, who was a Greek philosopher, you can see the dates on the screen, but he wrote a work called Poetics, Aristotle's Poetics, and it was the first piece, at least the first existing piece that we have of writing on what is art and what is theater and what is literature. And he went off on a whole lot of different directions, but he greatly influenced how we talk about and what we think about art today. And again, I'm a nerd, but I find it absolutely fascinating that something that happened well over 2,000 years ago can directly affect what we see today on TV and in films, and how we think about TV and films and theater, and I don't know, it's really strange how it all just lines up, connected, one thing leads to the other. When Aristotle wrote about plays, he divided it into comedies and tragedies. So why do we classify plays? Chiefly, we classify plays because it helps us decide whether we want to go see that play or not. If you're trying to figure out what to watch on Netflix, it's frequently a question of, do you want to see a comedy or a drama? Do you want to see an action movie, or do you want to see a thriller? These are all ways to genres or subgenres of plays. The one thing about a genre is that you might classify a certain movie or play or book or whatever as a thriller, and somebody else might classify it as a tragedy, or someone else might classify it as a dark comedy or something else. It really doesn't matter. What's interesting is a general rule of thought when you're writing a play is, don't worry about what type of play you're writing. Let other people decide that after you've written it. When you're writing it, just write the story you want to write. But there are two major genres of plays. The two major genres are comedies and tragedies. Other genres are melodramas, histories, musical, tragicomedies, documentary dramas, etc., etc. It goes on and on and on and on. Another way that you can classify a play is by the duration. So sometimes you'll hear people say a full-length play or a one-act play. A full-length play used to be always 2 to 3 hours. However, there's a lot of full-length plays nowadays that are not that long. Matter of fact, a lot of modern audiences don't want to sit for 2 or 3 hours to watch something. And it used to be thought of, so back in Shakespeare's time, all plays were divided up into 5 acts. So a full-length play was a 5-act play. In the early 1900s, a full-length play was a 3-act play. All plays were divided up into 3 acts. And then, by the 1960s or so, most full-length plays were divided into 2 acts. Now, there are what are called full-length 1-acts. Usually a full-length 1-act is at least 75 minutes long. But that's just usually. A lot of authors like using a 1-act format because when you divide a play up into 2 acts, before the intermission, you have to have a mini kind of climax or something that makes the audience want to come back in and see the second half of the show. And that's a little bit artificial in a play or in a story to have this moment in the middle of it like that. It's far easier if the play gradually builds all the way to the end without having to put something artificial in the middle of it. Now, 1-acts, you traditionally think of a 1-act as a short play, but as I already said, some 1-acts are, I don't know, the longest 1-act I probably have seen is 1 hour and 45 minutes. But there are a lot of 10-minute play festivals where the plays are all supposed to be 10 minutes or under, and I've actually seen and read some plays that were involved in a 1-minute 1-act festival, and so all plays were only 1 minute long. They were supposed to have the whole beginning, middle, and end in 1 minute. Some of them were successful, some of them weren't. So, and I sort of alluded to this, but according to Arthur Miller, and Arthur Miller is one of the greatest American playwrights of the 1900s. He wrote A View from the Bridge, Death of a Salesman, All My Sons. He was married to Marilyn Monroe for a while. Anyway, he said a play should be as long as it should be.